What's up, friends, and welcome to another 6-1-indie dev interview. My name is Kyle from the 6-1-indie side, and joining me is our editor-in-chief, Harry. Harry, how you
Hello.
doing?
I'm good. Very excited to talk about games.
Absolutely, and we're here with Degoma, who's showcasing their game Reggie, his cousin, two scientists, and most likely the end of the world. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for receiving us.
Yeah, we're very excited. Before we get into the game itself, why don't you tell us a little bit about you both and your history as a game developer?
Uh-huh. So my name is Gloria, and he is Frank, and we are brother and sister. So the Goma is a family company. Well, it started as a family company,
Yes.
right? We run it, but now it's not only us. We also have some employees working with us in this game. And what more can we say, Frank?
What? She's the programmer, also
Mhm.
producer and the script writer of the game, and I am the game designer, art director, and music composer.
Awesome. How long have you guys been making games?
Uh-huh. So this game, it has been in development for 10 years. So can
Wow.
you imagine, we started it young and now we are here. So we are really happy we finally are able to release it, right? this is
Yes.
uh, this is a relief to be at the end, in the end of the road. That's why this kind of event is so important for us, because it's really, our life work. And before this game, we didn't do anything professional, but when we were kids, sometimes we used it to try to make some homemade games, right?
Yeah. Some how do you call it? Text-based games that
Mm.
were only the only possible thing to do back then.
Yes, so nothing is public, nothing survived, but we were always entertaining ourselves at home, trying to do, graphic point and clicks and these kind of things with the very limited tools back in the day. Then I went to study to the university, so we stopped for several years. And then I got a job, I moved to Amsterdam, and yet more years passed. And finally, when I had a job, Frank finished his studies as well, and he says, "Okay, why don't we go back to making games?" And here we are. I still keep my job to finance ourselves. So right
Mhm.
now, I work every day of the week for many years. It was okay but we have to publish next year. I'm started to be lazy, to spend some Sundays sleeping. Is that it was enough? And
Yeah.
yeah, that's our situation right now. So we always love to making games, but this is our first professional one.
Oh, that's awesome.
While we
Mhm.
were studying, I was studying music. Then I moved to games studies. I was also toying a bit with RPG Maker, Game Maker, doing some fun
Mhm.
games. So I learned a bit of game design from there as well. Yeah, been also been working like mostly 7 days per week until you can take it because it's like just very little people to do everything. We started growing progressively, as we saw that the game was viable. We started, getting interns for our company, and whenever we could, the best interns became freelancers for us. So right now, the team is moderately big. We are around 10 people part
Mhm.
time, but
Mhm.
yeah, at the beginning, for the first years, it was absolutely everything just us.
Yes. Yes, we have the typical mistake of your first game, right? That you define a
Mhm.
too big scope and you have too many things in your mind. So
Absolutely.
imagine if you do this with friends, normally you would cancel because you cannot stand a 10 years development, right? That's insane. But since we are
Right.
family, then you keep going. I think
Yeah.
that's our strong point, that we
You're
are
stuck with each
family,
other.
so we don't,
Yeah.
yeah, our
Yeah.
company doesn't dissolve or anything, so we can do this long project.
Hmm.
But I'm very tired.
Yeah, it's normal that we sometimes find ourselves in a situation which is like, oh my god, why did I get myself into this?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, we still decided no matter what to keep pursuing it until we reach the end because we really, really, really always believed in our project, right?
Mhm.
Yes, we wanted, and we learn everything by ourselves, by doing. So
Yeah.
the part we struggled the most, it was the graphics. I think, Frank, it was 3 or 4 times you redid the graphics.
It was three,
Mm.
Three, right?
three times
I
we
No,
will
did the
say
whole
I
three
graphics.
and a
do want to
half.
compliment
Yeah.
you. I want to compliment you on the way the game looks because the art is so crisp.
Thank you
Like
so much.
Thank
you
you.
said it's like your third iteration of it. What did it look like before, and how much has it changed since you
Oh
first
my
started
god,
making it?
it's really shameful how it looked before, you know? We were so naive. We were like, "Oh, but our game is so great. Why is it not selected anywhere?" And now I look at it and it's like, "Oh my god, I want to dig a hole in the ground and bury my head of the huge shame because the graphics were absolutely poor."
So, at the beginning, it was more like clip art, this like super vectorial graphics that are more like stock graphics.
But
Look
bad.
like, yeah, look like stock, and yeah, not everything. The graphics didn't go with each other because every artist did whatever they wanted. So yeah, it was a bit
Yeah,
of a
that was
mess.
super difficult, because in the team there has been different people over the years. So Frank had to learn a lot of art direction because a lot of different people had worked in these graphics. So he had to learn a lot to direct them properly, to make it consistent, right? To make it look like it's made by the same person. I think that was our biggest
Yes.
struggle here. Yeah.
And speaking of the game, like it looks beautiful, has a really long name, which we'll get to later. But how did you guys come up with the premise of like time traveling and doing all those like levels based on that scenarios?
Okay, so where can I start? This is complicated. The first drawing I made of Reggie was when I was like 8, 9, or 10 years old. I was just toying with those tools, and somehow it looked very different. It looked like a 90s character, like a kind of cool spot, this type of character.
Mhm.
But somehow it stuck there. Like someday I will make a game about this character. So eventually, when we started doing the game, the first thing was the gravity mechanic, right? Was
Uh-huh.
what made
Yeah.
us think like we can create a very fun game out of this. The way to use gravity that Reggie does started as an end project for a school, and so yeah. We started growing the story from there. Like we thought, like,
Mhm.
oh, if this is about gravity, we have to. We were afraid that kids wouldn't understand the concept very well in order to play. So we had Newton in the game to explain gravity himself. So we introduced the scene where Reggie is the apple and Newton discovers gravity. And from there, we started growing. Like, okay, why is Reggie here in the past? Oh,
No,
he comes
listen,
from the
listen. I,
future.
I just remember how the story started. So then Frank said first came the character design, then the game mechanics, and then the story. And the story started. We have the character. We knew it was about gravity, but started one day that you have a dream where the 12th century had been stolen. Remember,
Oh
you had
yeah,
a
that is
dream where
right.
the 12th century disappeared, and I liked that concept very much. And then I started to write the Reggie story about after that dream. So one thing that happens in Reggie, well, it starts is that the 12th century disappears for them. Nobody remembers if
Hmm.
there was ever a 12th century. It's a mystery, and that's how Reggie's friends realize that something is not right in the past, and they have to go there to see what's going on.
I love
Exactly.
that.
So yeah, we have both these things. Like 12th century is missing. We
Mhm.
have Newton explaining gravity.
Mhm.
So we naturally decided to make a game about time travel, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so at some point we
Mhm.
decided like a traditional structure of having an ice world and a desert world, for example, doesn't fit with this game at all. Right.
Yeah.
So we decided because of the story, but also because of the gameplay. It's so broken that we have to keep introducing new mechanics all the time
Mhm.
because Reggie is very powerful. So
Yeah.
we quickly ended with this idea that every level is different, every level plays different,
Mhm.
right?
Uh, to that point with the gameplay of it all, you spoke earlier how when you were younger you would make like text-based games. What made you want to make a platformer, a primarily platformer game, and how difficult is that to go from what you were making to like a platformer?
So for us, we grew together, but I'm a bit older, and we have different tastes. So back then, when we were children, my favorite games were the LucasArts, all these point and clicks. I was
Mm.
absolutely fan of those. But then Frank got a Nintendo,
Mhm.
a Super Nintendo,
Yes.
and he also got very very fan of Mario and Zelda. So we were a bit different. I also could enjoy a Mario every once in a while, and he the other thing. But those were our strong points, right? And back then, what was available because back then it's very back. But then what was available to do, it was what we found first was a little engine which allow you to do these point and clicks, right? So that's what we use, and it was perfect for me because it's what I liked. But Frank always wanted to do his Mario like Mario style games. And then yeah, later in the years when the game maker appears and this kind of tools, he already started experimenting with it. So now Reggie has a little bit of both worlds, right? So it
Exactly.
has very polished mechanics from Frank. He is a platformer freak. He loves platformers, and then it has way more story than normally a platformer has because it comes from all this tradition of the point and click. So the
Mm.
character has a lot of personality. Well, or we try, and there is a reason for you to be in each level. So that you will see a cutscene between every two levels of what's going on in there.
I love that. That's great. And as Harry alluded to earlier, with the title of the game, it's so unique because of the length. We don't see games with a long like length of a title. What made you to stick with Reggie, his cousin, two scientists is most likely the end of the world?
So we basically wanted to convey the idea that there is always more to this game than what meets the eye. Okay, because you see one
Yeah.
platformer, you maybe think, oh, maybe it's like too casual, doesn't have a story. But we have a complex product right in here, so we have a very complex and convoluted story that has been referred to as the cozy Rick and Morty, let's say, and we also have very rich mechanics, right? That
Mhm,
appeal from the most casual players to
mhm,
expert players and speedrunners. There is like quite a bit of tiny hidden things that you
mhm.
have to figure out.
Yeah, so we used our title as a part of the storytelling, right? We wanted to communicate to the people, hey, have a look because you are going to have a story. You're going to have scientists there doing crazy things. It's not just, she's not going to save a princess here, basically. And that's one reason. And the other reason is that, Reggie is so simple, right? If you call it Reggie, come on, it's
That's
two
fair.
syllabes. And the third is that during the 10 years of development, we have many ideas for many potential sequels. So then they can be
Mm.
Reggie, other things.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
I
that.
I do also love how the key art kind of hints at that as well, like the post-it note for his cousin, and it just feels like you're adding to it because you realize the story's bigger and bigger as you go on. I love how it's all like gelling together. It's
Thank you
fantastic.
very much.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Harry.
One thing that I also thought was really cool about this game is that you can play the whole game as local co-op. Do you guys want to tell us how you came up with that, how you decided on that, and whether or not you two are actually play testing it, and how does that go between you two?
Of course. So we actually have two co-op modes, and each one comes with its own little story,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
personal story, right?
Exactly. So we have number one is the normal co-op, the two-player mode, in which you play with Reggie's cousin. So Reggie's cousin is the one on the title, with
Mm.
and it's with a post-it in the title because it means that you can remove it or put it because the story doesn't. You can do it without the cousin anyway if you don't want to. And that one, yeah, game designer.
Okay, so when we were younger, we were playing, the new Super Mario Brothers games, and we always had a problem because, of course, I am the pro player, and
Mm.
she is the graphic adventure player.
Mhm, mhm.
So she was always getting in the way and pushing the screen back and getting stuck in her bubble and everything. So
Mhm.
Yeah, it
uh,
was so boring to play with this guy. And he was making me play anyway. He wanted me to play just to humiliate me or something.
it was fun. Come on. So yeah, somehow those games didn't adapt to the pacing of both of us. What we decided to do then is that in our multiplayer game, when both players get too far away, the screen in real time just splits in the middle
Mhm.
seamlessly.
Mm.
So nobody loses control because I hate to lose control all the time and not being able to play my game. So we favor a little bit the bad player. Also, the lives are shared.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
that makes the smart one to try to help the other one. And but the important is that you play together, right? You have the ability to split the screen, but that's not the objective. We play two games in the same screen. So as soon as the screen gets split, a countdown appears, like 10, 9, 8. We have to calibrate the
Yeah,
amount.
we are
Yeah.
calibrating.
And then you have to get reunited, so the smart player has to wait a little bit for the other, otherwise they both lose.
And also the other one has to rush a little bit if possible.
I like that. I like the strategy in a platformer. That's great, especially the co-op thing. Yeah.
And then, we have also the assisted mode, right? Which was a pretty recent addition to the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, the second co-op mode, we thought about it only last year. And
This happened while we were showing the game in the TGS in Tokyo. So we saw that very small kids were attracted to the game, but it was maybe a little bit too complicated for them.
yeah,
But the modders really nailed it. Like, we have hardcore gaming modders in Japan. So what they were doing was sharing the controller between four hands.
exactly.
And the kid played the traditional platformer, and the mother used the more advanced abilities that are in the trigger buttons, the gravity, etc.
Exactly. So the mother was sitting there, and we saw it several times, not only
Yes.
one. The mother was sitting the child in her lap, and they were sharing the one controller, but two people playing on it. And we said, like, well, if this works, let's make it an official mode. So let's make the assistant mode to divide the controllers of one Reggie into two different controllers. So one person can take care of the traditional platformer abilities, which are the jump and the just walking, and then the other one do the Reggie specials, which are of course the gravity and the digging, which is
Yes.
also not so important as the gravity, but one of the Reggie movesets.
Mhm.
And it was an experiment, right? It could suck, but it works very well.
Yeah, it was a very pleasant surprise. Like,
Yeah.
we enjoyed it a lot, and our playtesters also enjoyed, especially the less skilled players. So
Yeah.
it really fit very well.
So if you are very recent in the game and you cannot make your head around the gravity moves because you normally don't play platformers, you can always play with your friend anyway in this mode and have fun. We have tested it with a friend which didn't play platformers in like 12 years, and she was like, again. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It
That's great to
surprisingly
hear.
works.
I'm excited for Harry and I to hop in and play
Yes.
some co-op together.
It'll be a good time.
Before we head on out of here, we asked the same question to every dev that we interview, and I want to preface this with there is no right or wrong answer, so feel free to answer the way you feel like it. But what does being an indie dev mean to you?
Ooh,
It's a big question.
So, we basically answered to nobody. We are doing the game from the beginning to the end the way we want. We finance it ourselves.
Exactly.
And we are mostly publishing it ourselves, not everywhere, but it's a game that is, you take it or leave it. But we believe in what we have, and we don't admit like changes requested by a publisher or something like that.
Yeah, that for us also it's one reason that it took many years until I saved some money with my work, because we didn't even consider to get some financing or early publisher deals, because we don't want opinions. We have both very strong character. Luckily, we are creatively aligned. Otherwise, it would be a disaster. But we don't want opinion. Oh, and we have heard
Like, for example,
we have heard many opinions,
Yes.
believe me, in the early times, like starting with the title that you said that you like. Phew, so many criticism, like, why so long title? That doesn't sell. Everything, every single detail, if you're gonna make a deal with someone, you're selling a little part of your soul to the devil.
Also, we
yeah.
got especially bad feedback on having such a long animated story. Like,
Boy,
right.
they hated my story. Yeah.
Oh.
It's like, why do you put a story in a platform? It doesn't need it.
Just remove it.
Yeah, just remove it. Just remove it. How many times did I hear that if I had $1?
Like a million times.
That's a bummer. I love story in all games, so that's a bummer to hear.
Right?
We
Same.
do. It's like, which Mario is better than Paper Mario and the Millennial Door? It's the best
Exactly.
Mario because of its story.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I think you guys answered that extremely well. So if people who are watching this and have watched the showcase and are excited for Reggie, where can they play it, and when can they expect to play it?
So Reggie will be published in 2025. We don't have a date yet, but
That's
we
fine.
have
Yeah.
the year, which for us is a huge step, believe
Yeah.
me. And for all the platforms, so it will be in Steam,
Mm.
but also in PS4, PS5, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox
Yeah, Xbox
One
One and
and
Xbox
Xbox Series.
Series. And we also expect to launch maybe a demo a few months prior, but we still don't have a date yet.
Yes,
Hmm.
we have something maybe early next year or something. We would like to have a demo at least for a while on Steam, to start
Sure. Yeah.
the people to
Nice.
try it and actually be able to do the mouth to mouth, that it feels good. So I think it's a good
Mhm.
move to have a demo before the launch. But we,
Yeah.
we don't have a date yet. The demo is playable right now, but it's private. We take it to the events
Sure.
when
Yeah.
Right,
we
Yeah.
right,
want
right.
to.
No,
But the
that's
public
awesome.
one, yeah.
When we have everything in there in place, just all the features that we want to announce,
Mhm.
we will release the
Yes,
public one.
there will be a
Of
demo.
course.
But
Yeah,
no.
yeah. If anyone wants to play that demo whenever it goes live or when it fully releases next year, please do yourself a favor. If you are watching this, please go wishlist the game on Steam. You have no idea how much that helps these devs and their games. If you haven't watched the showcase yet and you don't know what Reggie, his cousin, two scientists, and most likely the end of the world looks like, go check out the showcase right here on our YouTube channel as well as sixoneindie.com, where we get a full rundown of all the games that were showed off today. And remember to stay safe. We love you very much and play more indies. Bye.
Thank
Ciao,
you.
ciao.
Bye.
Thank you.